Welcome back to another edition of the Coach's Corner podcast. Today on the show, we talk about the franchise tag deadline in the NFL, the impending free agent situation in Denver, Peyton Manning and his decision. Is he going to retire or is he going to come back another year and play football? What quarterbacks are available in the free agent market? We're going to look at UFC 196, Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz. Diaz filling in for Rafael Dos Anjos, who had to pull out due to a broken foot, short notice. It's sure to be a fight. We're going to look at an FBI investigation that was conducted after the Nate Diaz Conor McGregor press conference, after someone said Conor McGregor a very threatening tweet, and so we're going to look at that as well. It's going to be interesting. Also, I'm going to tell you about DDP Yoga, a new life-changing thing that I've decided to take a part in to help me with my road to recovery from ACL reconstructive surgery about 8 months post-op now. However, being an athlete that I was, being used to being active every single day, wasn't able to do that after surgery. Kind of lost motivation, kind of got depressed, kind of lost a six-pack, some muscle, and put on a little unhealthy weight. I'm going to tell you about my upcoming journey in hopes of a great transformation, and then we're going to analyze the Grand Junction Gladiators' outlook for the beginning of the season. It'll be announced here shortly, the schedule. However, it's going to be a fun year for the Grand Junction Gladiators. I'm coaching defensive backs. We'll talk all about it. And, of course, the 2-minute warning. All that, much more, here on the Coach's Corner podcast.
This is the Coach's Corner podcast, brought to you by CodyWork18.com.
All right, we are back for another episode of Coach's Corner podcast here on a beautiful March day in Grand Junction, Colorado, powered by CodyWork18.com and the official snack of the Coach's Corner podcast, which I'm eating it right now, moon cheese. Yes, moon cheese, 100% cheese, gluten-free, a lot of calcium, great carbs, great protein for you. Head over to shop.mooncheese.com and make your purchase today. They've got Gouda, they've got cheddar, they've got pepper jack. Pepper jack is my favorite brand of moon cheese to snack on while I'm over here making the pod, editing, spending all the hours. It keeps me energized, keeps me going. And my good friends over at Moon Cheese have decided to hook up my listeners of the Coach's Corner podcast with a great deal. Whenever you go to shop.mooncheese.com, you enter promo code CoachesPod, you'll receive 15% off your entire order, and you can use that code unlimited amount of times until June 30th. So they gave you that long to do it. I'm going to take advantage of that. They sent me a great care package, and I've got Moon Cheese for days. So thank you to my good friends over there at Moon Cheese for the snack, for the energy provider, and the official snack of the Coach's Corner podcast. We are back here in studio to talk about a lot of things going on currently in the world of sports, especially football. A lot of people look at the NFL as a September to February kind of thing. Nope, it's a 7-day a week, 365 days a year, 24/7 business. Okay, and that's the NFL. You know, a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people look at it, from a black and white perspective of looking at it as, okay, you have training camp, you have preseason, then you have the regular season, then you have playoffs, and then you have the Super Bowl, and that's it. No, as soon as the season's over, it starts to look at the combine, the draft, start making mock drafts. NFL executives, owners, GMs, coaches, they're looking for the next players that could come into the team and make an instant impact, especially in free agency as well. You got a lot of guys and scouts looking at these draftees that are going to be coming up from the college level into the NFL. Which guy's going to be the next NFL star coming up? That's the exciting thing to watch. You never know who it's going to be. It could be a guy that goes undrafted. It could be a guy that's the number one pick. And in history, we've seen that guys who've been the number one picks, a lot of them have been busts, and some of them have been studs. So, and we just got to witness a great Super Bowl where the 2011 draft class with Cam Newton, the number one pick, going up against the number 2 pick, Von Miller, in the Super Bowl. And Von Miller came out on top on that. We're going to look at that, the whole thing. And so the NFL this week, as I say, it's a business, 365 days a year, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. now we just got done with the franchise tag deadline, which was yesterday afternoon around 4 p.m. Eastern time. Teams had to choose who they're going to designate to franchise tag, and these are the guys that got franchise tag. Some notable names. Obviously, the Denver Broncos franchise tag Von Miller to keep him from hitting the free agent market, despite the fact that there are no concerns that he's actually going to leave Denver no matter who goes. He loves the team. He stated that he wants to end his career in Denver. He loves the guys. He loves his players. He loves his teammates. So, Von Miller's working right now to get him one of the biggest blockbuster deals as a defensive player in NFL history, and it could come as early as next week. It could come 2 weeks from now. We'll see. Eric Berry overcoming Hodgkin's lymphoma and dealing, with injuries over the past couple years with a torn ACL, and amongst other things. Eric Berry has fought back to become the comeback player of the year. The Kansas City Chiefs want to keep him around, want to sign him. He is their franchise exclusively. And then Carolina franchise tag Josh Norman, their corner who kind of made a lot of headlines this year with his mouth, his trash talk. He is a great cover cornerback. However, not many people knew about him until recently. So, Josh Norman, he's not going to hit the free agent market. He's going to get one more year in Carolina. If they can't work out a deal, he'll be a free agent next year unless they franchise tag him again. However, with the franchise tag, there's really no security for the player, more so than it is for the team. They get to keep the guy, keep his services, and if he gets hurt, they are not inclined to owe him any money, so they can let him go. So that's the downside of the franchise tag. Kirk Cousins, Washington's quarterback, got franchise tagged as well. So, and a lot of people are looking at the whole quarterback situation in the NFL. It's hectic right now. For myself personally, looking at free agency, I go through the list of available quarterbacks that are going to be free agents come March 9th when free agency totally begins, and there's really nobody notable. Here are your quarterbacks that are available in the NFL as free agents, unrestricted. Okay, we got Ryan Fitzpatrick, who had a great year, very surprising year in New York for the New York Jets. He had Eric Decker, Brandon Marshall, Chris Ivory, some of these, talented guys, but they didn't really have too much of a supporting cast. They almost made the playoffs. They lost the last game of the regular season, which would have put them in the playoffs, so it's kind of unfortunate for them, but Fitzpatrick had a great year. He could be an attribute to somebody. Many people thought his career would be over after Buffalo, but it's not. So he's an option. I don't see where he's going to go to right now, unless the Jets decide to pick him back up, because right now they got Geno Smith as their quarterback. We all know how good he is. Matt Castle, a guy who hasn't been really hasn't played too much lately. Obviously, last time he played was for the Minnesota Vikings last year. Once a former prodigy of Josh McDaniels, when Tom Brady tore his ACL, Matt Castle stepped in at Patriots quarterback, and they did pretty well. But ever since that, he hasn't really been the same quarterback that we saw the first year. As soon as Tom went down, he still had a pretty good year. We haven't seen that guy. And then potential quarterbacks available through trade, Robert Griffin III and Colin Kaepernick, two guys that have been linked to potentially going to Denver. I look at the whole situation and I kill it right away. I squash that bug. A lot of people say, RG3 would be a great fit for the Denver Broncos. I really can't find out how. I can't see it. And it's just me. Some other people see it, but I don't. And I've had many discussions on Twitter about this, at Cody Work NFL. If you want to talk to me about this, go ahead, send me a tweet. If you tweet me right now, I might answer it during the show. We'll see. But RG3, he's not a fit for quarterback in Denver. I don't believe it. He had that one great year. In the year that the offense, when Colin Kaepernick was excelling in the option offense and running all over defenses, because the NFL hadn't seen it in such a long time or ever. They didn't know how to stop it exactly. So it was the year that Kaepernick was having his resurgence. RG3 was having a great year, blew out his knee. And then after that, he's never been the same guy ever since, and he hasn't played football. He hasn't played a snap in 2 years, and you can't count preseason. Preseason's crap, and no one cares about that. Preseason should be moved to 3 games, or actually exclusively eliminated, or reduced to 2 games, more so in favor for that for player safety reasons. However, RG3, I just don't see it. He's got lazy mechanics. He's never really been a pocket passing quarterback. He's always been the athlete, the guy, the Vince Young type athlete that we always used to see. Wouldn't hang in the pocket, would take a couple steps, look to throw, run, scramble, and then throw. And he made plays, no doubt about that. But however, it's the NFL. The evolution of defense has evolved tremendously. And for the Denver Broncos, they need a quarterback that can actually put up some points and help take the pressure off the defense for carrying them. Colin Kaepernick, it looks like he may end up staying in San Francisco with Chip Kelly in a system where I think Colin Kaepernick can truly thrive. Maybe he's the right guy for the situation. I don't know, but Kaepernick reportedly wanted a trade, and right now the 49ers said, no, we're not going to trade you. So, there are many different angles in this. And speaking of trades, RG3 is still with the Washington Redskins, but they are willing to give him away for free. Whatever it is, you could send them a package of moon cheese and they'll give up RG3 for that. I know I would. I'd take the moon cheese over RG3 any day. So that's my point on that. Kaepernick, though, you know what? I think he got a really bad rep. He got the crappy end of the deal. I think, under Jim Tom Sula, there wasn't really a system in place under him that really benefited Kaepernick. It more so benefited Blaine Gabbert, who, in my head, is also a very impressive gem that we haven't really got to see too much of in the NFL. I think he could be a potential really good role player for the San Francisco 49ers or whatever team he decides to go to if he ever gets released or traded or cut, whatever it may be. He's an asset that I think will be a very big surprise for an NFL team. Sam Bradford re-signing with the Philadelphia Eagles on a 2-year extension. So 2 more years of missing the playoffs for the Philadelphia Eagles. Congratulations. You're back. So the quarterback situation right now, you really look at it, and I think the only thing you can touch base on with quarterbacks right now in this offseason is in the draft. You got a lot of, great upcoming guys like Dak Prescott and guy from Memphis. Some of these quarterbacks, are big guys, and more importantly, I'm looking at it, but there's not really a quarterback depth-driven draft class like there's been. I think this year is more of a running back class than anything, or a defensive class more than anything in the NFL draft than we've seen in a long time. So, it's going to be eager to see what teams do, in all honesty. So, I really don't know what to do about it. I don't know what to think about it. I'm trying to, wrap my head around this whole free agent situation between the Denver Broncos, Brock Osweiler, and their whole free agency frenzy that they're about to have here. And you look at it, you got multiple guys, all major role players, set to become restricted free agents or unrestricted free agents. And 2 of those unrestricted free agents are some, pretty big names. Brock Osweiler obviously helped Denver to a 5-2 record while Peyton Manning was hurt. Denver fans got to see a lot of what he could do on the offensive side of the ball, what he's learned from Peyton over the years. Denver traded a draft pick to trade up and get him, and he sat behind Peyton for 4 years. You got to hope you don't let that go, so hopefully Brock Osweiler can re-sign with the Denver Broncos. Right now, he's said to become an unrestricted free agent. Malik Jackson as well, a big defensive player who does a really good job. He's very solid outside of penalties. He's set to hit the free agent market. David Bruton is supposed to be restricted. He'll get some offers because he's been a role guy. He's been a special teams ace for years, and he just started to thrive in a role at safety where he actually played against the Pittsburgh Steelers in the regular season with a broken leg the entire game. He's a very solid guy, contributed role player. You got Omar Bolden and other guys, Brandon Marshall, Danny Trevathan. John Elway said is expected to hit the free agency open market. So, Denver could lose him as well. And so, Denver might have some gaps to fill on that defense. And this is my opinion. If I was a defensive guy, obviously guys want a pay increase. That's understandable. If I have to look at, I'm not going to demand a lot of money. This is just me. Maybe it's because I haven't played in the NFL. Or maybe it's because I'm not going to play in the NFL. But as an athlete who loves the game, who's played the game for 14 years, who has, dedicated time and so much energy into studying the game of football, covering it, analyzing it, and discussing it with former NFL players as well, I look at the whole situation. I would take less money, or I would take a tiny bit more money, or the same salary that I was making, and I would carry it over. I'd love to re-sign with the team that I have because of the potential and the chemistry that you have with the Denver Broncos defense. That defense is nasty beyond recognition. It is a top 5 defense in NFL history, the way we look at it. You can't compare apples to oranges from the 1985 Bears to the 2015 Denver Broncos. The eras were simply different, and the game was much more evolved now than it was back then. And the passing attacks weren't as crazy back then as they were this year. It's more of a quarterback-driven league. So you look at that. If I'm Malik Jackson, who made probably $650,000 this year, couple bonuses here and there. When I look at it, he came out and saying that, you know what, I have a daughter now, I have to support her, and I can't do that on $600,000. Oh, man. Could you imagine what it's like for normal people like myself and other people who have a daughter or kids and have to support them making maybe less than $50,000 a year? It's hard. So $600,000, I don't know. But he's looking for at least $15 million per year for 5 years. That's what Malik Jackson's looking for. And he's going to get paid that kind of money. If it's not in Denver, it's going to be somewhere else. So he could be as good as gone. Same with Danny Trevathan. Both guys I think could end up in Chicago with John Fox, or Malik Jackson could end up in Oakland with Jack Del Rio as well. So, it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. I don't know what's going to happen. However, it is frustrating sitting back and not knowing what's going on. And then more so, you look at the salary cap, it rose drastically this year for NFL teams, the cap limit. You got to look at Peyton Manning. Is he going to retire or is he going to stay? And this is something that the Denver Broncos have been monitoring very closely because Peyton Manning, who's turning 40 here soon, has his physical coming up on March 9th. And at that point, if he doesn't announce his retirement, if he announces that he will retire, Denver obviously will save money on the cap. If Peyton says, you know what, I'm going to play another year, Denver's going to release him, and he's going to play for somewhere else. He's probably going to go to St. Louis. A lot of people are already talking about that. So should Peyton Manning stay or should Peyton Manning go? The way I look at it, you know what, I've been very conflicted with this, and I don't know how to necessarily put it into words that will describe how I truly feel. Okay, and when I say that, I'm talking about looking at what Peyton Manning went through this year. It was a difficult year. It was a year filled with adversity, right? From the beginning, throwing picks, just not the same guy. It's a new system, new offensive system that he had to learn from the traditional run and gun West Coast style, no huddle offense to a zone block, zone running block scheme type offense where it's predicated under center with play action and bootleg out of the Gary Kubiak system. It's something that didn't really curtail to his needs or to his strengths more so. And so he had to learn that, especially at the age of 39. And for Peyton Manning, obviously one of the smartest players to ever play the game of football, it's hard to learn a system that's not adequated to what your strengths are, and that's no huddle, reading the defense, not having to be under center, taking it from a shotgun or a pistol formation, and reading defenses and making throws and making the adjustments, calling it out before calling out, picking up the blitz, throwing against the blitz. Peyton Manning wasn't able to do that this year, and he struggled drastically. Then he got hurt. Brock Osweiler came in, led the Denver Broncos to a 5-2 record while Peyton Manning was gone. Secured the number 1 seed in the playoffs. Peyton Manning came back against San Diego in the second half, led them to a comeback win. Denver Broncos secured the number 1 seed. Play against Pittsburgh where they, offense sputters once again, and the defense has to make a big play to carry them. And then you go up against the New England Patriots in the AFC Championship game. And Peyton Manning, the offense played decent, and the defense played phenomenal. Then you go to the Super Bowl. Peyton Manning plays well enough. He manages the game. Denver's defense does the rest. Denver wins the Super Bowl, and Peyton Manning holds the Lombardi Trophy once again for the second time in his career. You look at all these situations, and you got to wonder, Peyton, you went out on top. You've got most of, if not all, the quarterback records at your helm, on your resume. It'll forever last that way. You won. You changed a year that ended up being one of the worst years of your career, and you ended it on such a high note, winning Super Bowl 50 and holding that trophy. Are you going to walk away right off into the sunset as Super Bowl champion, or are you going to come back another year and play? Even though if you're going to come back another year and play, you're not going to be in Denver. Denver doesn't want you. Yeah, and it's not that they don't want you, it's they can't afford to have you, especially with all the signings that they have to do with free agency. They cannot afford to pay Peyton Manning what he's worth. So in that situation, you have to analyze, the pros and cons, the cost of playing. Reports came out saying Peyton Manning still wants to play. So that's kind of throwing a little monkey wrench in this whole Manning's going to retire business, and which we heard multiple reports about as well. So when you look at all the facts and you put them all together, you can only think of this. Peyton Manning, if I were you, right off into the sunset, Super Bowl champion, 5-time NFL MVP, record holder of almost every statistical record at the quarterback position, the leader of most passing yards in a season, most touchdown passes in a season, and like I said earlier, 5 MVPs. No one's ever done that before. No one ever has. Your legacy is set. You are a Hall of Fame quarterback. You're going to be in Canton, Ohio. You're going to own or run an NFL team, be a general manager one day or coach. You have that. You've got everything that you need to retire with a very successful career. My thoughts, if he decides to come back and play another year, I'm truly scared that it will affect Peyton Manning's legacy in a negative way. And people are going to look at the whole situation with Brett Favre. Brett Favre retired, came back, got hurt, and it was kind of back and forth. And a lot of people look at Brett Favre now. You don't hear people talk about Brett Favre being one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time anymore. You don't hear, even though he is, you don't hear people talk about Brett Favre. And it's because he came back after retiring and tried to play more and tried to, further improve his legacy. His legacy was already set. He came back, and I think he really ruined it. And this is my absolute hope with Peyton Manning, that he retires, because I do not want to see Peyton Manning become the next Brett Favre. It will truly hurt his legacy if he decides to come back one more year. Because if Denver cuts him, who's he going to? Most people say it's the Rams. Okay, well, look at this. Obviously, the Rams moved to L.A. You're going to have a renovated stadium that's going to be top tier in the NFL. You're going to have, obviously the celebrity class. You're going to get paid, no joke, in there. And you're an instant upgrade at quarterback over there in St. Louis. But you're not going to win. You're not going to do anything in the playoffs. The Rams are not a playoff team. They're far from it. They do have Todd Gurley. He's an absolute monster. However, they're missing a lot of pieces that make that team a competitive team that can compete with playoff teams. And, St. Louis always plays well against Seattle. They always have good games, and St. Louis has topped Seattle a few times. But it's a different animal. You play against the top-tier teams like the Denver Broncos with those tremendous defenses, or the Carolina Panthers, you're going to get manhandled. And we've seen that time and time again. I don't know. To be honest with you, it's kind of frustrating, and I hope Peyton Manning decides to retire. A lot of people are questioning, is it ego? What is it? I have no idea. So we're going to take a quick commercial break here on the Coach's Corner podcast. We'll be back in just a moment to talk about Conor McGregor, Nate Diaz, UFC 196.
You've been listening to the Coach's Corner podcast here on CodyWork18.com. Follow us on social media at Coach's Co Podcast on Twitter, and enjoy the rest of your show.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Coach's Corner podcast. And before we talk about the last half of the show, I want to talk to you about something that is important to me that I've been doing the last couple of months. I got tired of paying $25 for a little box of razors, actually 2 razors at that. And for a bigger box, it costs around $35 just to get a big box of razors to shave. Obviously, with the winter, I wanted to keep the winter coat going with the beard. However, I wanted to trim it up and make it look nice. And unfortunately, the cost of razor blades went up. So I decided, you know what? I can't afford to keep pouring all this money into Gillette for their products. They have great products. However, I decided to try Dollar Shave Club, and I was blown away. It's very affordable. I only pay $10 a month to get 4 razor blades sent to my house with the handle, the one wipe Charlies, the aloe vera sensation for your behind. No more toilet paper. You have one wipe Charlies, easy disposable, to help you with the term shit shower shave. But to go along with that, with the shit, I had the shave and the shower stuff. So I had the shave butter lather up on my warm skin that I douse with hot water, and it makes me ensure that I have a really smooth shave, avoids razor burns and irritation like that. It helps, and it gets every single spot. Have you ever noticed after you shave with a certain razor that you go through, you wipe all the shaving cream off your face after you're done, and you notice you still have little hair patches everywhere, that spots that weren't picked up? I don't have that with a Dollar Shave Club. The one wipe Charlies, the shave butter, the executive razor gets sent to my front door every single month. It feels good. I shave time and I shave money. Dollar Shave Club, get yours today as well. Also, utalk.io is the first official sports-related audio Twitter app out there on the market right now. I was approached for it in the beta process by the creator Baird Hall, who reached out to me. He said, "Hey, you do a podcast. We want to and you interact with thousands of followers and listeners around the sports world. We want you to try this new product." So I was like, you know what? I'll try it. So I went out and I tried it, signed up for it, and it's where you create a minute-long audio segment that you can officially post through Twitter. It's like having an audio tweet feature in Twitter, something they haven't had in a long time. First of its kind for the sports world. I have my own podcast station on there thanks to my good friends over at utalk.io. The app is officially launched live now on the Apple Store, the Android Store as well. So go there and type in utalk.io. Download the app, connect your Twitter account, create your audio analysis, halftime show, scores, events, rants, whatever it may be, sports related. They have different segments, different areas that you can do. Upload it to Twitter, and it could be aired here on the Coach's Corner podcast. Starting next week, we're going to start airing some opinions from utalk.io here on the Coach's Corner podcast. It's a great feature. Follow them. Once again, go to the App Store, whatever it may be. I don't know what it is, but go to Apple Store, Android Store, Google Play Stores, whatever it may be. Type in utalk, the letter U, talk.io, and download it today. Tell me what you think about it. Follow me on Twitter at CodyWorkNFL. Give me your feedback. All right. So now we're going to get into the second half of the show, and we're going to talk about UFC 196 with Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz. And if you're not aware of this, this has already turned into a bad blood rivalry between these two guys. Conor McGregor, we all know who he is. He's a freak of nature. He's a great athlete and a tremendous fighter who over the years has made constant headlines. He, with his trash talk that he has for his opponents, he's very confident. A lot of people consider him to be cocky. However, it's not cockiness if you back it up. And Conor McGregor, fellow Irish descent, I'm Irish myself. Rourke is an Irish-rooted last name over there in Ireland. Proud to have that kind of rendition. So that's why, I've cheered on McGregor for quite some time because of his underdog mentality. I mean, even though he's been the underdog in some fights, not as of late, but when he was younger, early on in his career, he was an underdog. He was a guy who was scrapping to put food on the table, and more importantly, he did so. He tore his ACL as well. That kind of connected me to him a little bit more because when you look at it, a guy who tears his ACL after being an athlete, more importantly, you look at all of that and the obstacles that he's went through, and you can kind of gain an understanding a little bit of where he is and why he thinks the way he does and why he talks the way he does. So with Conor McGregor, it's something you have to admire and respect with him. He talks a big game, but he also backs it up. He said that he would knock out Jose Aldo in the first round, and guess what? He knocked him out within 13 seconds of their fight when they fought for the featherweight championship back in December. It was amazing thing to see. I was there. I was at Buffalo Wild Wings actually, and the whole entire venue went nuts for McGregor and his win. He's exhilarating. He's fun to watch. He sells tickets. He's a big guy. He's a poster boy guy of the UFC now. And the sport now can find hope through Conor McGregor. So it was originally supposed to be Conor McGregor versus Rafael Dos Anjos. Conor McGregor was going to move up weight classes just to face him, and Jose Aldo wasn't going to get a rematch shortly after losing to McGregor. That rematch will come at a later date. However, McGregor has said he was going to make it his mission to go up through every single classification and take every belt and then bounce, and that's making quite a statement. So McGregor, didn't wait long to move up to face Rafael Dos Anjos, who beat Cerrone for the title back a few months ago. And more importantly, this was the fight that everyone was looking forward to because Dos Anjos is an absolute monster, but so is McGregor, and nobody could really choose between the two guys who was the defined and clear-cut winner on paper because it was so close and it would have been such an entertaining fight that would have sold a lot of tickets. So, this Saturday, actually, they were supposed to fight, but last week we found out that Rafael Dos Anjos broke his foot and would not be able to fight. The second time in the last 6 months that Conor McGregor's opponent has had to pull out of a championship fight due to an injury. So, they were looking for the replacement. Who are they going to find? A guy named Nate Diaz. And so they had a press conference. Here's the clip of the press conference that they had, and it was a verbal heated exchange that's going to make this fight even more entertaining. Take a listen.
The belt stung for a little bit, the fact that I wouldn't, but really, it doesn't matter what weight divisions or anything, or even what belt is on the line, because really I should create my own belt, because I am in myself my own belt. It doesn't matter weight. It doesn't matter if it's a featherweight, the lightweight, the welterweight. It's the McGregor belt. So that's it. I'm fighting for my own belt.
It doesn't matter. I came to fight. They asked me to fight. I said yes from the beginning. So whatever problems they had, I don't know, but I came ready to fight. Any weight class, it didn't matter. So there's no hesitation on my part. I was ready to rock the whole time. I said it months ago. I've been in these big ass shows for hell of years before this guy even existed. So it ain't no thing. I don't give a fuck.
How's it feel to be a millionaire now? It's nice, right? It's nice, right? Let's be honest. Come on. It's nice, right? It feels good.
I'll tell you more.
You're a milli, but one night out.
Got fight first.
I like Nick's little bro. You know what I mean? How can you not like him? He's like a little cholo gangster from the hood. But at the same time, he coaches kids jiu-jitsu on a Sunday morning and goes on bike rides with the elderly. He makes gun signs with the right hand and animal balloons with the left hand. So you're a credit to the community.
Fuck you. Fuck you. I don't give a fuck what you say, motherfucker. Yeah, thugging on mine, motherfucker. What you got?
But I'm looking forward to him coming out, and I'll come out too. I come out to trap like a greyhound, like a champion greyhound. I come out at 100 miles an hour, and I don't stop. And I don't stop.
With?
So we'll see what he's about when the bell rings.
Got no training partners.
Let's see. I've got world titles and multi-millions of dollars. You've got 20,000 to show your last fight.
And little man weight division.
And you teach
little
kiddies.
short weight
you
division.
teach kiddies jiu-jitsu on Sunday morning.
Champion.
You're a junior infant jiu-jitsu coach.
I've been fighting
junior infant jiu-jitsu coach, and you teach seminars to eat. You have to teach seminars all across the fucking California just to make ends meet. So worry about you. You're a world champion, multi-millionaire.
You're fighting midgets.
That's it.
Knocked out 3 midgets and you're pumped up.
Yeah, and I'm about to knock out stuffed.
I'm a real motherfucking fighter fighting grown-up.
All Mexicans about to get stippled onto that list too. I am the rule. I'm the only rule in this game, so it doesn't matter weight divisions. Nate said he was ready to fight at any time, but, well, he wasn't. He wasn't ready to fight at 155. He wasn't ready to fight at 160, 165. So we give him 170, so...
they go every other day.
I'm happy to
I'm not
do
gonna
it.
no weight over no shit. I was fucking like 155 for the
You didn't take 155, though. You did not take 155.
I did too.
You didn't take 155,
Yes,
Nick.
I did.
But that's cool. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Every
Get
day.
comfortable. Get comfortable. 170. Get comfortable. 170, brother. Get comfortable.
I don't give a fuck.
I don't give a fuck either. I don't give a fuck either.
And Nate Diaz went on to tell Conor McGregor, "You're on steroids." You know, what I got from that whole entire press conference, it was about 59 minutes long. However, you had to condense it down to the highlights of 3 minutes. When you look at it, Conor McGregor is still very confident, very firm in his thing. He's got a championship. He's got a legendary mentality where he's completely focused on dominating and destroying whoever's in front of him. He envisions it, and he sees it, and he says he carries it over and once the bell rings. And you got Nate Diaz, a guy who, I mean, he's a solid fighter. He is nothing special. And Nate Diaz has never faced a fighter like Conor McGregor. Nate Diaz has a hard chin, though. So I'm eager to see what can happen when he gets hit by Conor McGregor on Saturday night. It's going to be an entertaining fight, you know, more so for me. I'd love to see Conor McGregor go in there and rip his head off and hold it up for the world to see. But you never know in the UFC. The UFC is very unpredictable. We saw that with Ronda Rousey and Holly Holm. Everyone thought Ronda Rousey was going to demolish her. And Holly Holm shocked the world and beat the crap out of Ronda Rousey. And I just hope that never is the case with Conor McGregor. He's such a likable guy. And so many people hate him because of how arrogant or they say cocky he is. But I think it's just breed confidence. And he's a tremendous fighter. He's absolutely skilled, and if you haven't watched this guy fight, you're in for a show if you tune in this weekend. He's a fighter unlike anything that I've ever seen before in the UFC. So I'm very excited to see that. My prediction is I'm hoping Conor McGregor wins. I can't wait to see what he does next, but first he has to take Nate Diaz out, and I'm hoping Nate Diaz falls. So based on that press conference, when Conor McGregor said he's a cholo gangsta, someone on Twitter took offense to that and sent Conor McGregor a tweet saying, you can talk all you want in the ring, but you can't talk, but the streets will come get you. And it was a guy holding an AK-47. So now the FBI is involved. The FBI saw that and is investigating it, looking into it, because obviously it's a major threat, and obviously having an AK-47 in the streets where gang violence in California are especially bad, it's kind of concerning as well. So, the Twitter gangsters have to go to Twitter fingers and trigger fingers, man. You know what it is. It sounds like the next rap version of Meek Mill and Drake. However, Conor McGregor is one of the best fighters in the UFC today, period. Bar none, simple. I haven't seen a fighter like him in a long time. And then recently, Anderson Silva and Michael Bisping fought in London this previous weekend. And with that fight, you can kind of call it two ways. Obviously Bisping won. However, Dana White, there was some controversy. Dana White came out and said that he called the game 48-47 for Anderson Silva, and Anderson Silva did bloody Bisping a little bit, and he ended up hitting him with a double knee to the face towards the end of the third round. So that was pretty crazy. I watched the end of that fight. I wasn't able to see it, didn't have Fight Pass at the time, but however, I was watching it on Periscope, and it was very entertaining to say the least. And guys over there in London had a thing, but a lot of people say it was a London job because the fact that Bisping has territorial roots up there. So we'll see how it goes. UFC 196 this weekend, Saturday. Go to Buffalo Wild Wings, go to whatever sports bar you have, and be prepared to watch. And then Miesha Tate takes on Holly Holm as well in the championship match as well. It's the co-main event. And then we get to the main event with obviously Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz. I'm eager to see if McGregor and Dos Anjos will ever fight. I do believe if McGregor wins that Dos Anjos will fight him next. He'll probably have his foot healed in time, or he'll fight Jose Aldo again for a rematch. But we want to see that fight between Dos Anjos and McGregor. That surely was a fight. Certain on paper it was going to be a fight of the year already in 2016. We'll have to wait and see. So I want to tell you about one last thing before we get to the 2-minute warning. Last year, May 17th, I tore my ACL during a football game in Denver when we were playing. And what happened was I had to wait a whole month before I had surgery. And that was tough. That was very tough because obviously, I couldn't have surgery right away. They said, I had to get my mobility, range of motion back and get rid of some stiffness, go through physical therapy for a month and then have surgery. Well, that didn't do anything for it. I had surgery in June 24th. And then so obviously after that, the recovery began. 8 months post-op now, and I'm still kind of experiencing a little bit of issues here, some stiffness in my knee, a little bit of delay in range of motion, but not too much. And more importantly, my extension is the most important thing that the surgeon told me about, and they want to do knee manipulation here soon under anesthesia, and I don't know if I'm going to go for it. So I decided to look into DDP Yoga. I listened to Talk is Jericho here on iTunes, the podcast. Subscribe to that, and he had a herniated disc, or he had a ruptured disc in his back, something that was extremely painful. And he's always on the road with wrestling, with touring for his rock band Fozzy. And what happened was he says he tried DDP Yoga and it changed his life. He didn't have to have surgery. The workouts, the things there helped him with his back pain, helped him with his struggles. And so that's what I'm going to do. I signed up and I'm starting to do DDP Yoga. Took my 6 main pictures to monitor for progress here when the time is coming for another progress measurement of how it goes. And being an athlete like me, every single day you're used to being active, working out, going to the weights, going to the gym, going to the field, putting work in, staying healthy, staying fit. After having surgery, I kind of fell into a depression, a little bit of a dark time in my life, and I wasn't able to do that. I wasn't able to be as active as I wanted to be, and I'm still not able to be as active as I want to be. So I'm taking the DDP Yoga. I've read thousands of testimonies. They say it's changed their life, and I'm hoping it's going to change mine. mind. I will keep you posted on it. So I am doing DDP Yoga. Head over to ddpyoga.com to check it out. And if you're interested and you're going through kind of a similar bump where you suffered an injury, your back's hurting all the time, or you want to lose some weight, you want to gain some fit, muscle tone, and things like that, go to DDP Yoga right now and check it out. Now we're going to get into the 2-minute warning here on the Coach's Corner podcast, and then we're going to close it for the day, and what a show we've had. So here we go, 2-minute warning. This is the 2-minute warning. Here we go. Joe Flacco. Come on, man. Okay, the Baltimore Ravens announced that they were going to be signing him to a 3-year extension to his current contract that'll extend him out to 2019 and beyond. And he said that, hopefully with the contract extension, it can give us 2 or 3 more years to win another Super Bowl, or 2 or 3. The Ravens are not coming anywhere close to becoming Super Bowl champions at all, ever again. It's going to be a long time. Joe Flacco, you suck. You're not elite. And speaking of elite, did you guys hear that Congress is talking about Joe Flacco and they're debating if he is elite or not in Congress? That's where our taxpayer dollars are going to, if you wanted to know. Imagine how much tax-paying money we spend just to hear congressmen debate, is Joe Flacco elite or not? I could answer that for you in 1 second. Is Joe Flacco elite? Hell no. The Rockets. Houston Rockets in the NBA. NBA news. Released Ty Lawson of his contract. Both parties agreed to a buyout where Ty Lawson will no longer be a Houston Rocket. Ty Lawson has had a very hectic career as of the last 2 years with DUI issues, court issues, law issues, basketball issues. Ty Lawson's a good friend of the program. Good friend of him. Always been a supporter of Ty, and I really hope that Ty Lawson can get a fresh start somewhere else and have a thriving career. I think this year was a hard year for him, especially him and his family. I hope that Ty Lawson can get his stuff together, and I hope that he can continue playing basketball. He's a great player, a great athlete, and I hope that we haven't seen the last of Ty Lawson in the NBA. Steph Curry, oh my goodness. Did you guys see the game-winning shot against the Oklahoma City Thunder? Wow, he pulled up probably maybe about a good 8 or 9 feet, even 10 feet maybe behind the three-point line, and pulled up and splashed that three like it was no problem. And we've seen him do that many, many times this year. He did it in the All-Star game at the end of the game, and he also did it against OKC in a huge game that was in overtime, tied at 118 apiece. Curry hits the shot, 121-118. Golden State over the Oklahoma City Thunder. And now the Golden State Warriors are 55-4. Oh, wow. And to end the 2-minute warning, we're going to look back at history. History was made on this day years ago. I don't know when, but many, many years ago. On this day, Wilt Chamberlain scored 100 points in a single game, and he scored 1,000 points with the women that night as well. Obviously rumors of Wilt Chamberlain's, rendezvous with women. He's probably had over thousands of girls in his life. You might want to get checked out, man. That's pretty crazy. Couldn't imagine that to this day and age, but on this day, Wilt scored 100, and that is the 2-minute warning. We will see you next week here on the Coach's Corner podcast. We're back.
The following episode is available for download right now on CodyWork18.com. In the right-hand corner of the Coach's Corner podcast section, click on the link and it'll take you to past and present episodes of the Coach's Corner podcast. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at CodyWork18 and at Coach's Co Podcast. Tweet us, send us anything that you want, and you may be on the show.